Next, from Bonn, debate on the occurrence of violence in Germany. On Wednesday, the opposition Social Democratic Party called for a special session of the Bundestag, the lower house of the parliament, to discuss a recent incident involving so-called neo-Nazi violence. The clash took place a week earlier in Magdeburg in East Germany. A gang attacked a group of foreigners, made up largely of Africans, injuring 3 of them. The opposition party has criticized the police for not responding quickly enough and is calling on the government to enforce stricter laws against violent offenders. Before we bring you the Bundestag debate, we'll take a look at the structure of the German government.
The German Federal Republic dates back to 1949, when the German Constitution, known as Basic Law, was written.
The Basic Law is the German Constitution of the present German state. It was called the Basic Law instead of the Constitution because the idea was that someday Germany would be united, and those who put together the Basic Law in 1949 put it together only for West Germany. Germany was already divided, and they want to emphasize that this is only a temporary constitution. The Basic Law was adopted by the Germans with some American and French influence, perhaps, in 1949, and it's been the governing document of Germany ever since.
The government is divided into 4 branches: the Parliament, the Office of the Chancellor, the Office of the President, and the Federal Constitutional Court. The German Parliament is responsible for passing legislation, electing a federal chancellor and president, debating government policies, and overseeing the activities of the federal ministries or executive departments. The Parliament consists of a lower chamber, the Bundestag, and an upper chamber, the Bundesrat.
Bundesrat, beginning with that, the so-called Federal Council, as I said, represents the states, the 16 states of Germany. That's the way our Senate was originally conceived. In legislation which concerns the Länder, the states, the Bundesrat can take the initiative, and in a small number of cases does.
The Bundestag directly represents the German people. Members of the body are called deputies.
There are 600, and now, with the addition of the deputies from East Germany, there are 662 of them. They are elected every 4 years, and they are elected in a system that is quite unique to Germany. Half of them are elected on party lists, and half are elected directly, the way our congressmen and senators are.
German politics is dominated by a number of parties: the Christian Democratic Union, the Social Democratic Party of Germany, the Free Democratic Party, the Christian Social Union, the Party of Democratic Socialism, and the Greens.
The Parliament itself, it makes a good deal of its control function, but in point of fact, that's really rather weak. And it's rather weak for a very simple reason that distinguishes German political system from ours, and that is the strength of the political parties. The political parties are the most important actor, and they're constitutionally anchored. They're mentioned in the Constitution, unlike this country. Therefore, party discipline is very important. And the party parliamentary groups are within the parliament, the most important bodies. That's where most of the work is done, that and in committees. And they, of course, are subject to the discipline of their party. The Chancellor, Chancellor Kohl, is a member of the CDU. So generally, the CDU members of the parliament, in 98% of the cases, will vote the way the Chancellor wants, for party discipline reasons.
The German Chancellor is elected by the Bundestag. He's the leader of his party. He also serves as head of the government, where most legislation is initiated.
He is the head of the government. He is responsible for giving political direction to all the ministries. But it is, I would say, that sense somewhat like ours. Each ministry has its area of jurisdiction in which the Chancellor, except in unusual cases, does not interfere. And that's even true in foreign policy. Interestingly enough, the German Chancellor has probably less to say in foreign policy than the American President. And why is that? It's because Germany has a coalition government, a government of the Christian Democrats, that's Chancellor Kohl's party, and of the Free Democrats, who used to be represented by Mr. Genscher, the foreign minister, and are now headed by the present foreign minister, Mr. Kinkel.
The German president is largely a ceremonial figure. His duties include greeting heads of state, visiting foreign nations, and attending government functions.
The president It comes out of the political parties. The present president, Richard von Weizsäcker, is a member of the CDU. He was formerly mayor of Berlin, so he is a politician, although he has a rather distinguished background as an evangelical church layman and also in business and law.
Germany holds its elections every 4 years. The next election for both Chancellor and Bundestag deputies will be held in 1994.
Frau Präsidentin,
Mrs. President, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the German Parliament has to deal with events that we are sorry about, that we are apologize for, and where we have no explanation for. Once again, we are totally helpless, absolutely helpless. First it was Hoyerswerda, Rostock, Solingen, Lübeck, and now Magdeburg. And we don't know what happens in other 100+ cities in this country. We are responsible for it. Even I take responsibility for this. We have to go to the roots of that. We have to find the reasons for these events. But it would be too easy to give only these policemen the responsibility that were there in the field. We have to take the responsibility for everybody. We have to find out where the roots are set for these kind of violences. These are our children. We are responsible for them, and they turned to violation because we couldn't give them any future. This kind of violation of human rights, however they are taken, we have to limit these people in their actions. This new power in Germany has to be seen in connection with something that lies in the past. We should not take this easy. And it's also no coincidence that the justice officials could not do any more than they have done. We should be strong against them. We should be forceful against them. We should realize that the violation against foreigners is concentrated in areas where only years ago foreigners were accepted. Their parents and teachers were communists, and now they are trying to cope with the new situation in the reunified Germany. A lot of things that happens in the reunified Germany shows that we have a lot to do for the foreigners, especially for the foreigners. The debate about asylum rights in the German parliament is one of the reasons why now we see these violations against and these attacks against foreigners. We should take this very serious. Politicians, judges, and other officials take it too easy. They have to take it serious. And if the candidate for president says that foreigners who don't want to become Germans have to leave the country, then this is not the right approach to this, to solve this problem. We don't do enough. We don't do enough, and also the police in former East Germany is not ready for actions like this. How can we explain that they had warning 24 hours warning that something is happening in Magdeburg, and they were not prepared for it. How can we explain this to our people? And the police chief in Magdeburg failed totally. He said it was the heat and alcohol that ignited these violations. However, I think this is totally wrong. These people should be more trained before they can deal with things like this. Nobody did anything when these hooligans were going through Magdeburg and were singing and slogans and greeting with the Hitler's greeting. Nobody did anything. These policemen over there have to know that they are now policemen for a democratic country and not anymore for a communist or totalitarian country. This is one of the reasons why so many things happen over there. And how can people trust these policemen if they cannot go against these violators, if they cannot arrest them and let them go a few hours later? This is not the way to fight against radical groups in this country. We cannot go easy on with these people that attack foreigners only because they have a different skin color than us. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, the Parliament should apologize for these events and should tell them that they are under the same rights and under the same security than all Germans. Mrs. President, ladies and gentlemen, what happened now again in Germany is not understandable, and we are very, very concerned. The CDU and Christian Social Union Democratic parliamentary delegation condemns these attacks. However, we also have to blame the media, the TV and the newspapers, to overblow the events in their reports. They say the events in Magdeburg took several hours. They said there was an open hunt on foreigners in Magdeburg. And the police were there and just ignored everything that happened there. The reports also said this group of youth made trouble in a trolley, and then they kicked somebody out of the trolley and attacked him on the floor. However, this event only took 25 minutes, according to the police. And it also says that there were spontaneous actions in other parts of Magdeburg after that happened in the city, in the downtown. The police obviously was not able to oversee and control the situation. They could not even determine who was attacking and who was the victim. You should read this police. Yes, you should read this police report before you say anything. There is no way that police in action they are making mistakes there. We have to realize that not the highest police authority and the Justice Department was informed about what's going on in Magdeburg. And there are reports that the police just ignored them. These reports are totally wrong. The police did what it could do, and the police force was increased during these events in Magdeburg. That the police were taking action shows that 46 people were arrested. That was 32 Germans and 14 foreigners were arrested. However, these people were not held for many hours, not even for a day. They were let go. However, the police had no right to keep them longer, because after the event was over, there was peace again in the city. So they had no reason to further arrest them, because there was no reason that they would start everything over again. It is also wrong that the police was warned in advance 24 hours before. However, they got a warning about other events that might have happened in Magdeburg at a different situation, a different location. They were not prepared for what happened, where it happened, and they were not prepared for the event that they finally had to face. But we have to take this serious anyway. We cannot dramatize that, neither in the media nor here as in the political forum. We should be very objective. This event shows quite clearly how ready these young people are to use force to reach whatever they want to do. Only a small event can blow out of proportions. And it is very dangerous when this is combined with hate against foreigners. I think you are wrong. That is the reason, and that is because we changed the asylum right in Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, there are limits for what people can take. And these limits had been reached, and therefore it is right that we went this way and voted for the changes in the asylum rights. This has led to a decrease in tensions in Germany. This is something you don't want to understand, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the reason for what's happening now. Ladies and gentlemen, the events from Magdeburg shows very clear how the difference between the education in both parts of Germany. Families and schools are equally responsible for that. But I also want to talk about something very clearly. There are so many TV programs on German TV that show force, brutality, negative pictures, and wrong messages. A lot of people, especially young people, are glued to the tube many hours a day, and they see there and they just go to the streets and repeat what they see on TV. And this is without any responsibility. Thank you very much.
Als nächster spricht jetzt Dr. Jürgen Schmude. Entschuldigen, dass ich gewartet habe.
Frau Präsidentin,
Mr.
sehr geehrte Damen und
ladies and
Herren, ich
gentlemen,
würde die Problematik gerne etwas grundsätzlicher betrachten.
I would like to make a special statement.
Und werde dabei ganz von selbst.
I want to talk about something, and then I come to something that has been wrongly presented by the government party here.
Menschen in Hamburg das Haus über dem Kopf angezündet worden.
Last night, there was another incident in Hamburg. Arsonists put a house on fire where foreigners were in there. They could flee, so they were not injured.
Ist doch jetzt seit Jahren fortlaufend
But this is only one event that is a continuation of what's happening in the last year or two.
Erinnern wir uns eigentlich noch daran, was in Bielefeld,
Do we still remember what happened in Bielefeld, which is only a few weeks ago?
erinnern wir uns, es positiv zu wenden,
Do we remember
etwas längeren Zeitraum in den
what happened about a year ago, where it happened, what happened?
Ich fürchte,
I think we are a little too ignorant.
mit solchen Ereignissen zu leben,
We don't want to live with events like this.
erleichtert, wenn
We
es
want to
ein
take it easy.
Opfer gegeben hat. Mehr und mehr sind wir in der Gefahr der
We-
Abstumpfung. Und das sage ich aus
I'm afraid we are becoming ignorant, and I have to admit I'm one of them.
Und wir schrecken dann auf,
And we awake when something new happens.
wir schrecken mit Recht auf,
And this is right that we wake up.
vor einigen Tagen Jagd auf Ausländer.
And it's shameful that some days ago there was open foreigner hunting in Magdeburg.
Aber die hektischen Reaktionen, die dann
However, these hectic reactions after this event don't do any good for this.
nacharbeiten, die Hektik der ersten Tage genügt.
The hectic in the first days might be good, but it does not good for long-term solutions to these problems.
Vorbeugung für die Zukunft willen. Aber immer wieder das gleiche Rezept herauszuziehen,
But we cannot use the same recipe for everything.
das ist nicht nur im Verfahren problematisch.
There are too many problems connected to each individual event that
Gesetze geht es hier, sondern um die
happens in this country in the last year or two.
in Magdeburg nicht zu gelingen scheint.
And the recipe from Magdeburg was not the right one. I have to admit this.
Alles, was wir da zur Kenntnis nehmen müssen,
Everything we had to realize
inzwischen schon dauerhaften Entwicklung zum Schlechten hin.
is something that we have to get used to, obviously. It is a bad sign, but this is obviously
Und zur Normalität zu werden.
something that has nothing to do with normality. We are not in a normal time.
Aufhalten. Deutschland ist nicht ausländerfeindlich.
Germany has nothing against foreigners. It doesn't hate foreigners.
Sie bekommt mehr und mehr den Beigeschmack des Pfeifens in
However, we don't do anything to protect the foreigners that live in our borders. And this is not a good sign, and this also damages our reputation in the foreign countries.
Zuge der Krawalle ein Behinderter von jungen Leuten aus einer Straße.
It is a fact that during these events in Magdeburg, a handicapped person was kicked out of the trolley and was hit while he was lying on the floor.
Unser Land nicht wiedererkennen. Hat die innere Zerstörung erst
And there is something that some people should say they don't recognize this country anymore.
Anfängen wären, dann meine ich zu wehren,
Isn't there anything we can do?
wir dürfen diese Einzelfälle nicht auf sich beruhen.
We cannot just leave these single events and talk about it and then forget them.
Dann meine ich die Kälte und die abweisende Haltung
We should not
Ausländern in unserem Land, in
We should give the foreigners a warm welcome here and let them feel at home and not show them the cold shoulder. That does not create an atmosphere that we want to have.
dass sie etwa bei 80% der deutschen Vermieter bei der Frage nach
It is a shame that about 80% of people that rent or lease apartments say no when a foreigner comes and wants to lease an apartment, even if he has the money. This is very shameful.
Angst zum Wahlkampfthema machen und bitte Herr
And we should not make the
Arbeit sein, aber
fear of the foreigners a subject for the coming election campaign. That would not help the event, that would not help the foreigners.
wohlhabende und starke Land
This wealthy and strong country
darf sich nicht nachsagen lassen,
should not
die kleine Gruppe
be considered as weak towards small groups that have almost no influence, that only get headlines in the media.
Regelungen für die erleichterte Staatsbürgerschaft und Einbürgerung, die Sie uns doch zugesagt hatten.
What is about these bill that you promised us that would make it easier for these foreigners to become German citizens? You promised us. Where is it?
Original ist es, das Kommunalwahlrecht für Ausländer abzulehnen und
It is also wrong to ignore and reject a voting right for foreigners on a local level.
bessere Aufenthaltsrechte für Geschiedene von deutschen
And it is also wrong to kick out foreigners that were married to a German
Sie sei ja auch dafür, dass
and after divorce kicking it out. That would be wrong.
sie hat die Mehrheit in ihrer Fraktion gegen sich. Ein falsches Signal und eine verheerende Sache ist es,
It would be
die Aufnahme
a wrong signal
von Menschen aus Ruanda, die doch von der Abschiebung
to reject the people from Rwanda, from African Rwanda. They don't have any other
gibt es eine
place to go to. They were kicked out of their country and we should welcome them in our country.
berührt. Ich habe mich in diesem Sinne auch daran beteiligt, aber wir dürfen doch das Entscheidende nicht übersehen.
We should not ignore
Dass christliche Bürgerinnen und Bürger
that
sich bedrängter und bedrohter
Christian men and women in this country are fearing for their life
sie öffentlich eintreten.
because they defend the foreigners.
Aber es schließt auch Hoffnung.
And it is much better to give these foreigners a voting right because then they are considered equal with many Germans in this country.
Ausländern und Asylsuchenden. Deutschland hat einen Überschuss an Kälte und an Härte gegeben.
We are not limited in our way to accept foreigners. We are limited in our ability to show the foreigners that they are welcome. We show them the cold shoulder. Thank you very much.
Als nächstes spricht unser Kollege Dr. Burkhard-Hirsch.
Frau Präsidentin, meine
Mrs.
Damen und
President,
Herren,
ladies and gentlemen,
es gab Warnungen.
there were warnings.
Es waren nicht Krawalle aus besoffenem Kopf heraus.
There were warnings that there was some trouble in Magdeburg, not from drunken youth.
Euro-Rock ist rechts, ist zum alten Markt gefahren. Die Krawalle begannen am breiten Weg.
Well, only the police had the wrong location. They expected them near the city church, and the event started somewhere else.
Durch 50 bis 60 Jugendliche,
There were about
die sich ausdehnten auf bis zu 150
50 to 60 youth in the beginning, and at the end it were about 100.
Etwa nach 30 Minuten.
And everything was over after 30 minutes.
Polizei in Magdeburg verfügt einen Dokumentationstrupp. Er war nicht einsatzbereit.
Well, the police was not ready for that, quite obviously. That
Es hat
we can
49
say that.
Festnahmen gegeben. Wurde kein Haftbefehl.
There were many arrests, but nobody was arrested and put into
Die
jail.
Polizei hat keinen Haftbefehl beantragt, weil sie nicht
The
wusste,
police didn't arrest
diejenigen, die
anybody
sie aufgegriffen hatte an den Krawallen,
because they didn't know that who was a victim and who was an attacker
beteiligt waren.
of the
Das
people
Ganze
who were
nicht in
arrested.
Klein-Kleckersdorf, sondern in der
That didn't happen in a rural country in a rural part in this country. It happened in the capital of a new state in Germany.
Alles in Ordnung. Es ist schwer, das nicht als eine Satire zu
It is
betrachten,
really
betreibt.
terrible to
Wenn es nicht so traurig
not to laugh about that. I mean, if
Es
it's
ist
a serious event,
es
but
ist keine Frage der Gesetzgebung. Der Landfriedensbruch ist
there
in
is no
Deutschland seit
reason
gut
that the
500 Jahren
laws aren't
strafbar.
there for everything.
Man kann auch in Deutschland bei Verdunklungsgefahr Haftbefehle
Even if you
erwirken, wenn man
are-
nicht weiß, ob man einen
if you
Täter oder
are-
ein Opfer vor sich hat. Das muss
If the
man
police
natürlich
think you
wissen.
can do something wrong, they
Ich habe den Eindruck, dass
can
es nicht
arrest you.
eine Frage der Gesetzgebung ist, sondern eine Frage der zunächst einmal der
It
Funktionsfähigkeit.
is not a matter of the law, it is a matter of the police. Was the police ready to act like it was supposed to do?
Mit der präsenten Stärke, was ist mit dem Selbstvertrauen der Polizei?
They don't have any self-respect. They are too young in these jobs. They just came out of the training school and had to deal with events like this.
Sondern ich frage, was hat eigentlich das leitende Personal dieser Stadt
But we have to ask the question
frage
what
mich, ob der Innenminister sich
the
nicht
police
fragt,
chiefs
prüfen
and his
muss,
deputies
ob
did.
dieser Polizeipräsident seine Aufgabe
This
gewachsen
police
ist, weil
chief
sonst der
in
Landtag
Magdeburg
prüfen wird, ob
has
der
failed
Innenminister
his
seiner
duties
Aufgabe gewachsen ist.
and he should resign. We saw on TV pictures of a mob in Magdeburg. And I'm just asking the question, how many people in Magdeburg just turned around and ignored this? And we are known, the Germans are known as ignorance. Germans turn around and don't want to have seen anything. It wouldn't be even surprise me if these radicals in Magdeburg acted with the support of many people in the city. We're not talking about drug dealers and criminals or the slogan, Germany only for Germans. And also we are not talking about people should leave here if they don't want to become German citizens. We have history of events like this. Hamburg is the last one. It just happened last night. If the impression comes up that the society and the state cannot act and cannot solve these problems, then this is a very bad impression. We are concerned about what we're talking about and how we can act to do something. We have to do something. There is a big gap between discussions and actions. We have to do something against foreigners' hate. We do not only talk here, but we have to give these people a feeling of welcome, whether they are foreigners or in our new states in former East Germany. The church has to do its part, the family has to do its part, the schools have to do their part. Events like this did not happen before we were reunified. Now we have to deal with it. We shouldn't only talk, but we have to take our responsibility. And if we not all do something and support the police, then we cannot succeed in what we want to do. Thank you.
Als nächster spricht Dr. Gregor Gysi.
Frau Präsidentin,
Mrs. President,
meine Damen und Herren,
ladies and gentlemen,
die Situation in Magdeburg,
the situation in Magdeburg
ist einerseits eine Fortsetzung dessen,
is a continuation of what we have seen in other parts of the country.
neue Qualität.
But there was a new quality in this
Und zwar
one.
in dem Sinne, dass diesmal nicht bei Nacht.
The only difference was this event, these attacks didn't happen at night. At night, these attackers could just disappear in the darkness of the
In den
night.
Straßen einer Stadt,
Here it happened at
Ausländer und
daylight.
Ausländer, vor allem solche mit anderer Hautfarbe,
Here they went against foreigners with a different skin color.
aus der Straßenbahn gestoßen und danach getreten.
They kicked somebody out of the trolley and mistreated him while he was lying on the floor.
Polizei geschah.
And it seems like it all happened without any action by the police.
Ich denke, wir kommen nicht umhin, Konsequenzen zu ziehen.
We have to take consequences here, otherwise we are not getting any resolutions to
Es
this.
geht ja viel weiter. Müssen wir nicht
We have to look beyond that.
zugeben, dass Teile der Polizei
Don't we have to admit that at least parts of the police, I underline parts of the police,
rassistisch eingestellt sind und ausländerfeindliche Einstellungen haben?
do have something against foreigners, might have something
Dass
against
zum Beispiel
foreigners?
dort ein Ausländer festgehalten wurde, unter den Augen der Polizei und danach noch getreten werden konnte?
That is the only reason that I see for the fact that the attackers could do what they could do.
Daneben stand, als das Haus angezündet wurde. Kann das alles ohne Folgen bleiben?
In Rostock, the police looked the other way when the house was put on fire some time ago.
Mal nachdenken und denken Sie mal an die Konsequenz, mit der die Polizei gegen Autonome und andere
And I only have to think about the police. Are they ready for what they are supposed to do?
Und ich sage Ihnen, Herr Olderock, was Sie hier
I want to
geboten
say
haben,
to
ist
Mr.
deshalb so
Oldrock,
gefährlich, weil Sie ganz indirekt wieder die Theorie des Wirtsvolkes aufstellen.
you are talking about the people in the pub.
Menschen zu integrieren. Schon
You
dieser
are
Ansatz
talking about the people in the restaurant.
die immer internationaler und einheitlicher wird. Sie
This
wollen
country is becoming more international. More foreigners, more languages are talked here.
zu verheerend. Und ich sage, es ging ja nicht nur um die Asylrechtsänderung.
And it is not only because of the change in the asylum rights.
Die war doch das Schlimmste. Erinnern Sie sich doch mal an die Vokabeln.
You remember the words that you used when we were talking about the change in the asylum right. The German language has some words that can poison a situation. And now we have the result here as basis on these words you used last year when we were talking about the change in asylum rights.
Eine stillschweigende Zustimmung von einem Teil der Behörden und von einem größer werdenden Teil der Bevölkerung.
Some people consider this debate as an
Sagen Sie mal,
admittance that events can happen like they happened now in Magdeburg.
49, glaube ich, waren es, oder 47 festgenommen, aber da waren erstens viele Opfer dabei.
There were
Bei den Tätern wussten
47 or 49 arrests, but among them were victims as well as attackers.
Folgen, weil jemand die Straße lang geht.
You cannot just arrest somebody because he is walking a street.
Würde ich gerne erfahren, wenn man hinterher sagt, man weiß gar nicht, wen man eigentlich festgenommen
And it is very, very tragic that the police, after arresting people, say we don't know whom we
Und das
arrested.
Schlimmste ist, und ich sage Ihnen, es gibt so bestimmte Sätze, die ich nicht mehr hören kann.
But there are things I
Dazu gehört
can't
danach
hear
als
anymore.
erstes die Erklärung der Betroffenheit und als zweites die Sorge um das Ansehen Deutschlands. Nein,
You're talking about that you are very sorry about that, and talking about the respect that Germany loses in the world. This is not important in these areas. We don't have to change the laws, the criminal laws. We just have to enforce them to the extent that we have to make sure that these radicals are isolated. Then they don't attack people, not the foreigners. We have to isolate the small group of radicals. Then they would be in isolation, and they would not have the idea of attacking people that are respected in our country as guests and as citizens. Then they would not put on fire apartments of foreigners and would
einen Schwarzafrikaner aus einer fahrenden
kill foreigners.
und der dabei zu Tode kommt. Und der jemand, der das gemacht hat, anschließend auf
If a foreigner is kicked out of a tram and is killed, nobody would care about the attacker. But if a foreigner would kill a German, he would be convicted to the full extent of the law. This is right. This is right for the German as well as for the foreigner. We have to use equal laws for equal rights for either one of them. There is no difference between a foreigner who kills somebody and a German who kills a foreigner. We don't do anything. This parliament is silent. We have limited possibilities, but we should take what we can do. I only wanted to say two more words. Think about it, and I really urge you, think about not only on local level.
Sondern auf allen Ebenen. Wissen Sie auch warum? Es geht mir nicht nur um die damit verbundenen politischen Rechte.
I don't talking about political
Menschen
rights.
mit geringeren politischen Rechten von ihren Nachbarinnen und Nachbarn und von ihren
People
Kolleginnen und Kollegen auch weniger
very
angesehen
limited
werden.
political
Gleiche
rights
Rechte führen auch zu einem anderen Ansehen. Mindere Rechte führen
lead to
zu dem
tensions
Bewusstsein, dass
in
eben auch
communities.
Menschen minderer Qualität sind.
They
Hier
consider
müssen wir
them
einen
as
Beitrag
people with
leisten.
lower
Und lassen wir
quality.
uns ernsthaft über das von uns vorgeschlagene
If we
Antirassismusgesetz
talking about
nachdenken,
a voting
das wir
right for
endlich
foreigners,
zivilrechtlich
we
mit
would should give them a voting right for
strafrechtlich
all
verfolgen, wenn
elections.
Menschen wo und wie auch immer
That would
aus rassistischen
increase
Gründen
their
im Berufsleben
respect
oder sonst
by
wo
by the neighbors, whether
Das
they
wäre
are
ein
Germans or
Zeichen, das
foreigners.
dieser Bundestag setzen kann. Das wäre ein
And
Zeichen,
it's time
dass
that
wir
the
endlich die
parliament
Täter
debates about
ächten
that,
und
and
ausgrenzen
that
in
would
dieser
help
Gesellschaft und
everybody
nicht
in
mehr
this country.
überhaupt. Danke.
Thank you.
Als nächstes spricht die Bundesministerin Sabine Leutheusser-Schnarrenberger.
Frau Präsidentin,
Mrs. President,
meine sehr verehrten Damen
ladies
und
and
Herren,
gentlemen,
Herr Schmude, ich
Mr.
erinnere
Schmude,
mich sehr genau und eigentlich täglich
I remember
an die vielen Ereignisse
and I
aus den
think about
letzten
it almost
Monaten,
daily,
die
the events
zum Inhalt hatten, Ausschreitungen, Gewalttaten
and the
gegen
debates in
Ausländer,
this parliament
gegen
about
Schwache,
events
gegen
and
Minderheiten bei
attacks
uns in
against
Deutschland.
foreigners
Ich kann
in
nur
many
sagen,
parts of this Germany.
sich das auch ständig vor Augen führen, ist nicht nur Mahnung, sondern auch
And thinking of it is not only good, it also shows us that we have to do something.
Um hier einem Klima, das sich droht
We
auszubreiten,
have to change the climate in Germany.
Und es ist erschreckend,
We have to do
dass in
something,
Deutschland
otherwise we
Ausländer
go into
auf die
more
Straße
trouble
gejagt werden
and we have to
und
get
das
more debates in this
Unbeteiligte
forum
zuschauen.
here.
Und ich erinnere, dass es gerade erst ein Monat her ist,
Just a month
dass
ago,
wir auch hier
we
in einer
talked
Aktuellen
about
Stunde uns
in
mit dem
this
Brandanschlag
forum
auf die Synagoge
about an
in
arson attack on a synagogue in Lübeck.
dass wir hier alle Betroffenheitsbekundungen
We talked about it and we said how sorry we were and how we condemned these attacks.
ausreicht.
But this is not enough.
Diejenigen, die
We have to do more.
des 1993 beobachteten Rückgangs der Häufigkeit rechtsextremistisch motivierter
People who thought about a decrease in radical attacks, neo-Nazis attacks in 1993 were totally wrong. They have to revise their ideas.
immer wieder eines Besseren belehrt. Und nur allmählich kann sich die Erkenntnis durchsetzen,
And only very slowly we come to the impression
begangenen Straftaten
that
nur der sichtbare Ausdruck
the attacks are an expression of things, of worse things to come. It shows what these people over there think, still think, even 2-3 years after reunification.
Das habe ich immer wieder betont und man muss es immer wieder sagen, eben nicht mit Aussicht auf Erfolg bekämpfen.
We cannot do anything if we don't change these people, if we don't educate them better, if we don't give them jobs.
Wir müssen mit allen verfügbaren Mitteln
We have to
dafür
do
sorgen,
everything
dass die Werte unserer Verfassung,
to underline our constitution, to secure and protect our constitution.
in uns allen viel lebendiger
Also the minorities in this country are protected by the constitution.
dieses Verständnisses
And
von
that we have to tell them. They have the same rights
Und
as
dazu gehört auch ein verantwortungsbewusster Umgang
everybody
mit
else.
unserer Sprache. Überfremdung, Durchrassung.
we also have to take good care of our language. We should speak a good German.
In dieser Situation und in diesem wirklich
We should give them a chance to learn our language. That would help them enormously.
Und es stellt dem deutschen Rechtsstaat kein gutes Zeugnis aus, festzustellen,
We don't look in the
dass er
world
anscheinend nicht in der Lage ist.
if we don't prove that we cannot deal with these
Wie
events.
müssen sich andere ausländische Mitbürger und Angehörige anderer Minderheiten
How do other foreigners here and other members of minorities think,
Viele werden Angst haben,
and
auf die
how
Straße zu gehen.
much must they fear that if, even though they are not attacked right now, what could happen to them
Selbstverständlich ist die
any day
entschiedene
now?
Reaktion der dafür aufgerufenen Organe notwendig und erforderlich.
However, we need all the authorities on all levels to deal with
Ich
this
möchte hier
situation.
nicht zu denjenigen zählen,
I don't want
die
to
Polizei in Magdeburg
be one of them who
wegen
points a
ihres
finger at the police in Magdeburg.
unzunachlässigen Einschreitens
Surely they did
mit
not
massiven
everything they were supposed to do. Maybe they weren't able to do
dass
it.
Fehler gemacht worden
There were
sind,
mistakes
ja nach
were
dem
made.
jetzigen Erkenntnisstand offensichtlich
That is
wird
quite
auch
clear.
von den Verantwortlichen vor Ort inzwischen eingeräumt.
That even the authorities have admitted it in the meantime.
Polizeieinsatz in einem frühzeitigen Zusammenwirken mit der Staatsanwaltschaft.
The police should have been in cooperation with the Justice Department officials.
Aber doch begrenzen können,
That would have helped
hätte
them
vielleicht auch noch
enormously.
andere Verfolgungsmaßnahmen früher ermöglicht.
And they would have been trained better and could have dealt with radicals that were attacking foreigners there.
Befehle zu beantragen und dass sie dann auch erteilt werden.
And the police could have asked for arrest warrants. They could have asked. They would have approved them.
Gegen Rechtsradikale.
Even the right radicals, they would have been behind bars
Ich darf
now.
auch das wiederholen, was alle Vorredner gesagt
I want to
haben.
repeat
Das
what
geltende
everybody said
Recht
before
reicht
me.
eben grundsätzlich aus, hier
Our laws are good enough. We don't need changes of laws. They are good
Aber
enough.
das beste Recht nützt nichts,
But the best
wenn die
law
Beweise
does
nicht
not do
adäquat
any
gesichert
good
werden
if
und
it
damit
does
der
not
notwendige
enforce,
dringende
if it's
Tatverdacht
not enforced
für den
enough.
Erlass eines Haftbefehls eben nicht belegt werden kann.
If we
Das können
cannot
wir
arrest
auch-
somebody
wir wollen
and cannot
natürlich auch
keep him
nicht
in
Änderungen
jail
unseres
for at least a
geltenden
couple of days until
Rechts beseitigen.
his case is
Ich
cleared.
glaube gerade auch die Erfahrungen, die in den alten Bundesländern gerade mit Ausschreitungen
The
von
experience that
gemacht
we
worden
had
sind,
here in
zeigen,
Germany,
dass mit einem besseren, abgestimmten Zusammenwirken von Polizei und
we have seen that with a good cooperation with the police, a lot of things can be prevented or can be done. A lot of positive things.
alles getan werden, darauf hinzuwirken,
And we
dass
have
es
to
auch
do everything that
in
also in the new
Ländern
part of
zur Selbstverständlichkeit
Germany,
gehört, wenn
these-
Polizeikräfte einschreiten müssen.
this good positive element can be brought into effect.
Und möglichen Folgerungen, die daraus gezogen werden müssen, nicht vorgreifen, aber
We have
ich will auch hier
to
schon
think
sagen,
about what we
daraus
can
kann
do.
sich für den Bundesgesetzgeber
We
kein
have to think about which laws are better for
Was wir
these
für
situations
notwendig
and which
halten,
laws
in
should be
unserem
enforced,
geltenden Recht zu ändern,
stronger enforced
das haben wir
in
schon
events to
überlegt und
come.
beschlossen,
Unfortunately,
bevor
we have
es zu
to
diesen Ausschreitungen
count on
gekommen
this.
ist. Das sind Überlegungen, die schon vor über einem Jahr
We
angestellt
started over a year with thought
wurden. Wir
about
hoffen,
new
eine
laws
positive Atmosphäre
or
auf diese Beratungen
a more enforcement of the
in den
laws.
nächsten Stunden und Tagen
Unfortunately, nothing has changed,
zu bringen.
and we have to talk
Aber
about that as
mein
soon as
Appell
possible.
richtet sich in dieser aktuellen Stunde
I appeal
nicht nur an die hier Anwesenden,
not only to the politicians
sondern an
here,
alle in unserer Gesellschaft,
but to everybody
dass
in the
wir
society.
mehr als bisher dazu beitragen, dass Integration und das friedliche
Increase your
Zusammenleben
contribution
gerade mit Bürgerinnen und
that
Bürgern
we can,
ausländischer
that the
Herkunft
integration of foreigners and new Germans in this country
und dass wir es nicht nur sagen,
comes
sondern dass wir es auch
faster than
tatsächlich
will
tun.
so.
Denn sonst werden
And
wir
we
leider
shouldn't only
in den
talk
nächsten
about
Wochen
it,
und
we should
Monaten
act and should
möglicherweise noch öfter in
create a
aktuellen
better
Stunden
atmosphere
andere
for
Anlässe
everybody in
zu
this
sagen
country.
haben.
Then we
Ich glaube,
can live
niemand
here
von uns
much
möchte zu
more in
denjenigen
peace.
gehören, die sich dann sagen, sie haben nicht selbst alles getan, um so eine
We should not
Entwicklung
let other
ihren
people say the government hasn't done enough for us.
verhindern zu können.
We
Vielen Dank.
have the responsibility. Thank you very much.
Als nächster folgt der Kollege Hartmut Büttner.
Frau Präsidentin,
Mrs.
meine
President,
verehrten Damen und Herren,
ladies and gentlemen,
ich stimme all den Vorrednern zu, die betonten,
I agree with my predecessors
gerichteten Krawalle in Magdeburg erneut
who said that we are
Empörung
very upset about the attacks against foreigners and Germans from Magdeburg.
Hoyerswerda, Rostock, Solingen, Lübeck,
After Hoyerswerda, Rostock, Solingen and Lübeck, we hoped that there was a change in climate in Germany.
der Gewalt,
A change in climate that
ausschließt.
would lead to
Wir haben leider vergebens gehofft. Und Herr Gysi,
the force not
das
used
internationale
as
Ansehen der Deutschen,
reaching
weil die
something,
Ereignisse vom
but
12.
we
Mai ein herber Rückschlag.
hoped for
Natürlich
nothing.
auf der
It
einen
didn't.
Seite
It didn't
Investoren, die
realize.
neuen Bundesländer holen wollen und auf der anderen Seite ein Klima haben, das Gewalt zulässt. Zu Recht haben Öffentlichkeit und Politik
I agree with the public and the politicians that condemned these attacks. We have to have consequences, otherwise we cannot expect any improvement. We cannot accept and we cannot allow that young people go against foreigners or against Germans only because they have a different political opinion.
Wir wissen aber auch, und das gehört auch zur Wahrheit, dass dies leider nur das Startsignal war.
We have to realize that the events, recent events, only was a starting signal. We have to expect more. And the events in Magdeburg look like a script for a horror movie. Drunken German youth are threatening a foreign couple with young children. A handicapped German is kicked out of a trolley and mistreated by about 20 people and injured him seriously. People take knives, sticks and rocks and go against each other. The police was obviously not capable of dealing with this kind of events. But we should not forget that creating a democratic and forceful police takes time. It takes time, and in the meantime we have to admit that mistakes were made. As I know from my precinct, there are efforts underway that the training of the police will be strengthened, that it will be better, that there will be better policemen after this.
Dass viele von denen, die jahrelang bereits den Polizeistaat auf uns zukommen sahen, die zum Beispiel das konsequente Vorgehen der Polizei
a lot of people who saw coming a police state for many years should now ask for major events and major improvements after the events in Magdeburg.
Noch verwunderlicher ist, lieber Herr Lambrinius, für mich, dass
it is very surprising that a Social Democratic
gewalttätige Straftäter schon nach wenigen Stunden wieder laufen zu lassen.
member said
Das sagt der stellvertretende Vorsitzende einer Partei, die in Sachsen-Anhalt und im Bund bisher Verbesserungen im Haftrecht
that it was right that these people were released after being arrested in Magdeburg. This is totally unacceptable.
Dieser Unterbindungsgewahrsam würde es erlauben, Gewalttäter einige Tage festzuhalten
and
und sie, lieber Herr Graf, eben nicht wieder gleich laufen zu lassen.
There was no law that could hold them longer under arrest. We have to find a solution to that. We have to find a solution to keep these people under arrest as long as possible. If it's only 4 days, 4 days is a long time to clear the events and to make sure who is responsible for it and who is not. Mr. Küster, we talked about it here in the Parliament, but it was your party that rejected it, and we could not approve it. We could not pass the bill. The news from Magdeburg also says that the local Social Democratic Party in the Parliament is not up to date. It's not enough to say here we are upset. We can't say only that the laws are there, but we have to strongly enforce them. We have to do more. The government party has said numerous times that we should change the law concerning the time of arrests. I hope that a vote will be taken very soon. And then we will see who is for it and who is against it. Then we will see who is for improvements and who is against improvements.
der Ursachenforschung von Extremismus, Fremdenfeindlichkeit und Gewalt mehr Gewicht zu geben.
And we also have to go to the roots of extremism and hate against foreigners. We can't only take it too easy.
Mit gleichen Maßstäben wahrnehmen und durchsetzen. Unmittelbare staatliche Reaktionen.
We have to do more. The authorities have to have the force and have to have the ability and have to have the laws behind them if they go and arrest these people and put them in jail. The events from May 12th should not be repeated. Thank you.